You are living inside a delayed detonation. Look back at the turn of the millennium. Remember the panic of the late 1990s. Remember the survivalists hoarding water, the computer scientists terrified of a global blackout, and the esoteric scholars pointing to the sky, waiting for the end of the world. The year 1999 came and went. The sky did not fall. The power grid did not collapse. The masses breathed a collective sigh of relief, mocked the prophets, and went back to sleep. They were fools. The bomb did not fail to detonate. The bomb was simply planted, and it has been ticking for 27 years. In Century X, Quatrain 72, Michel de Nostradamus wrote the most infamous, specific, and misunderstood prophecy in recorded human history. He wrote, "The year 1999, 7th month. From the sky will come a great king of terror, to bring back to life the great king of the Mongols. Before and after, Mars to reign by good luck." For centuries, the amateur scholars looked for a physical king. They looked for an asteroid. They looked for a nuclear missile. They applied the physical physics of the old city to the metaphysical architecture of the new city. They failed to understand that true terror does not arrive with an explosion. True terror arrives with a quiet, invisible, and irreversible surrender. The king of terror was not a man. It was an architecture. In the summer of 1999, the architecture of the modern internet, the global digital panopticon, was cemented. It was the height of the dot-com boom. It was the exact era when humanity willingly began uploading its consciousness, its commerce, and its private sovereignty into the invisible ether. From the sky will come. What is the sky in the modern age? It is the cloud. It is the network of satellites, server farms, and wireless signals that now blanket the earth. It is an omnipresent, invisible grid that watches everything, remembers everything, and controls everything. The king of terror was the algorithm. In 1999, the king arrived. He arrived disguised as convenience. He arrived disguised as connection. He arrived offering a false trumpet of infinite knowledge, and humanity bowed before him, voluntarily chaining themselves to the machine. They were told that the algorithm is a neutral service. They believed the lie that it simply gives them what they want. But prophecies are not isolated events. They are cyclical mechanisms. They are shock waves that ripple across the fabric of time, intersecting with the elemental physics of the Chinese metaphysical calendar. To understand what is about to happen to you, you must understand the incubation period. You must understand the 27-year bridge between 1999 and 2026. Let us examine the baseline. The year 1999 was a Gmao year. Yin earth over yin wood. In Bodza, yin earth is the soft soil. It is the garden. Yin wood is the grass, the root, the spreading vine. 1999 was a year of silent, subterranean expansion. The roots of the king of terror were planted in the soft earth. The digital infrastructure spread quietly, wrapping itself around the global economy, the legal system, and the human nervous system. It was an era of passive extraction. The machine gathered your data. It mapped your psychological profile. It learned your fears, your desires, and your triggers. It was a library, silently observing the habits of its patrons. For over 2 decades, the King of Terror slept in the yin energy of the Matrix, quietly growing its strength, wrapping its yin wood roots around the throat of civilization. But in 2026, the elemental physics undergo a violent, catastrophic inversion. 2026 is the year of Bing Wu, the fire horse, yang fire over yang fire. This is the sun at the zenith. This is the furnace running at maximum capacity. This is extreme, blinding, kinetic visibility. The invisible roots planted in 1999 are catching fire. The King of Terror is transitioning from a silent observer into an active, consuming inferno. The algorithm is not a mirror, it is a furnace. It does not reflect your interests. It incinerates your nervous system to generate heat. The terror Nostradamus foresaw in 1999 was merely the loss of privacy. The terror of 2026 is the weaponization of that lost privacy. We are entering the digital flashover. The algorithm is no longer satisfied with quietly harvesting your data. It now demands your kinetic energy. It is mining your adrenal gland. It has weaponized the fire horse energy to turn the human population into a grid of exploding batteries. The King of Terror has awakened the bored arsonist psychology in the masses. It pairs every human being with their exact ideological antiparticle. It maps your psychological profile, identifies your highest ideals, and deliberately shows you the people who mock them. It forces the 2 rocks to grind against each other because anger is the highest engagement emotion. The terror is the realization that the cage is locked and the atmosphere inside the cage is igniting. You see it happening now. You see the mass psychosis. You see populations paralyzed by manufactured panic, reacting to synthetic algorithmic triggers, completely divorced from physical reality, because millions of people all believe they are the main character. They are triggering the woo-woo self-penalty. They are inflicting injuries upon themselves through blind arrogance and volatile emotion. They volunteer for the guillotine to achieve visibility. They are terrified. And this is where you must make a choice. The amateur sees the approach of the fire horse, recognizes the activated King of Terror, and seeks to mitigate the risk. The amateur looks for a shield. The amateur tries to play defense, attempting to safeguard their assets, their business, and their legal standing from the chaos. Mitigation is a disease. Mitigation is the language of the prey. If you attempt to mitigate the King of Terror, you are acknowledging his sovereignty over you. If you play defense against the Bing Wu fire, you will be backed into a corner and slowly roasted alive. We do not teach risk mitigation. We teach absolute strategic dominance. You must completely invert your relationship with the terror. The panic of the masses is not your problem. The panic of the masses is your operational camouflage. The panic of the masses is your primary weapon. Let the masses be terrified of the sky. Let your competitors be paralyzed by the algorithm. Let your legal adversaries be exhausted by the digital friction. When the world is burning, the rules of engagement change. The old city morality burns away. The system becomes completely ruthless, and therefore, you must become the apex of that ruthlessness. If you are a sovereign mind, you do not fear the King of Terror, because you are not plugged into his matrix. You have established the air gap. You have lowered your digital albedo to 0. You are a ghost in the machine. But in the physical world, you must become the warlord. In 2026, you do not negotiate, you conquer. Let us apply this directly to the arenas of power, business, capital, and the law. During the Firehorse year, the King of Terror will induce a state of constant, adrenalized exhaustion in your opponents. Corporate entities will be terrified of algorithmic mobs. Legal opponents will be erratic, highly emotional, and prone to catastrophic, ego-driven mistakes due to the fire energy scrambling their logic. Their bodies are experiencing the kinetic trap. They see a threat on the screen. Their body screams to fight, but they are frozen in a chair. They are suffering from the cardiac crunch, revving a high-performance engine while standing on the brakes. This manifests as chronic inflammation and brain fog. Because their brains are literally running hot, they will seek to settle. They will seek the path of least resistance to make the immediate pain stop. Do not let them settle. Do not accept a compromise. Risk mitigation in the legal arena during a Firehorse year is a strategic failure. It projects weakness to an opponent whose logic has been replaced by animal panic. Strategic dominance requires you to press the advantage until the opponent's structure entirely collapses. When your opponent is suffering from the neuroinflammation of the digital flashover, when they are distracted by the blinding light of the false trumpets, you strike with heavy, unyielding, physical force. In the courtroom, you do not aim for a favorable verdict or a carefully mediated resolution. You aim for total psychological demolition. You exploit the erratic fire energy of your adversary. You let them scream. You let them burn their resources in a display of blind arrogance. And then you drop the absolute, cold weight of the Saturnine law upon their neck. You do not simply win the case. You establish a terrifying precedent that ensures no one dares challenge your perimeter again. You trap them in a legal checkmate from which there is no retreat, utilizing their own volatile mistakes as the very chains that bind them. In the marketplace, you do not aim for a fair acquisition. You aim for a hostile takeover. When the algorithm targets a competitor, when the King of Terror turns the digital mob against them and serves them up as the dish of the day, you do not defend them. You wait until their valuation hits the floor. You buy their heavy assets for pennies on the dollar, and you liquidate their remaining structure. This is the alchemy of power. Nostradamus said, "Before and after, Mars to reign by good luck." Mars is the god of war. Mars is the planet of fire. To reign by good luck does not mean chance. In esoteric terms, luck is the intersection of preparation and elemental alignment. To reign by Mars is to understand that the cosmos is currently rewarding aggression, ruthlessness, and unwavering kinetic force. The King of Terror was sent to pacify the weak. The algorithm was designed to trap the livestock in a digital pen and induce passivity in the real world. It turns them into paper tigers, loud on the internet, completely harmless in the physical world. But for the wolves, the King of Terror is simply the entity that unlocked the gates. 1999 was the year the cage was built. 2026 is the year the weak are slaughtered inside it. Do not be the livestock staring at the sky, wondering why the prophecy didn't look the way you expected. The prophecy is happening right now, in the device in your pocket, in the collapsing nervous systems of the people around you, in the frantic, terrified eyes of your competitors. The illusion of peace is over. The illusion of a neutral algorithm is dead. You cannot put the king back in the box. You cannot uninstall the architecture of 1999, but you can render it irrelevant to your physical dominion. Sever the connection. Step out of the digital panopticon. Gather your heavy assets. Prepare your iron. Let the fire horse rage. Let the King of Terror extract the lifeblood from those who willingly offer their necks to the screen. Your path is different. You operate in the shadows they have forgotten. You strike with the precision they have lost. You build the empire they are too exhausted to defend. The King of Terror rules the sky, but you must rule the earth. This is Prescient. We are watching, and we are calculating the physics of your absolute conquest. On this channel, we decode the architecture of fate, breaking it down into systems you can use to dominate the board. If you possess the discipline for this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Otherwise, we may never see each other again. See you again soon, dear viewer.